One Micronesia Podcast is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.
Half a day, another week, another episode. And with all the restrictions being lifted, I was like, you know what? Let's do this in person. So with me here, my guest for the podcast today is none other than Ed Leon Guerrero. Ed, thank you so much and welcome to the show.
Well, it's absolutely my pleasure, Victorious.
So yeah, thank you. I think if you don't know Ed, he is literally the face and the dude that runs the YouTube page called Pulan Speaks. Right?
Yes, that's correct.
Amazing. And then so Ed, before we get to how it all began with the YouTube page and stuff like that, let's start with you, my man. So tell us more about you. Tell us more about Ed. I know before the interview you were telling me that you have your master's in Micronesian studies and stuff like that. So let's start there.
Oh, yes. So, born and raised here in the beautiful, wonderful island of Guahan. And I have, I have a bachelor's in sociology and political science, double major at our very own University of Guam.
Nice.
So yes, you don't have to go out in the States to get your degree. There's nothing wrong with University of Guam, okay? Just to let y'all know. Not only that, but then I also got my master's in Micronesian studies,
Nice.
which specialize in the study of Micronesia.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm currently doing a PhD in indigenous politics at the University at Manoa.
Nice. I mean, so let's talk about that. When it comes to education, when we all, I mean, that was then. Now it's different because now this generation is kind of turning towards looking back into our very own culture and history and stuff like that. Back then, it's like, okay, you go straight. I mean, and I'm not saying studying to become a doctor or because those are needed in our community.
Right.
But I mean, it's more of that that the generation now is really looking back and wanting to learn more about where they're from. So, what got you into Micronesian studies?
Oh, well, it was a way to channel this strong burning interest that I had in cultural studies
Nice.
and my own ethnic identity as a Chamorro. Yes, I am Chamorro, by the way. My own ethnic identity as being a Chamorro, because, for the longest time, it was out of my mind. I didn't really care whether or not I was Chamorro or not. I subscribed to the belief that, and this might be common for many of you who are watching, especially younger people, that, I'm just going to leave Guam and I'm going to, fulfill, get a job out there in the States and then just live out there, start a family and whatnot. And, every now and then I'll contact my family here on Guam. But the primary thing for me was, it was a way to channel in my deep desire to wanting to know more about my heritage.
Nice.
And not only that, but know more about this region, because the fact is that when I was younger, I knew more about the countries and the capitals of Europe, of Africa, of Asia, than I did about this very region of Micronesia, of the greater oceanic region as well, which to me is ridiculous. And that is something that I wanted to understand. Why is that? And how I could change that, and how I could do an impact to the community in order to help educate people, to help them understand more, to have a oceanic-centered point of view rather than a Eurocentric or another point of view.
Awesome. I mean, you're right. I mean, we grew up, learning about these things. So we grew up, memorizing capitals of states in the U.S. when we don't even know the capitals of let's say the FSM or Palau or the Marshall Islands. The specific names of the capital. So that's really awesome that you brought that up, because it's time, and like I said in the beginning, where this is the generation that's kind of turning away from that and kind of coming back to learning more about our region and our cultures and our history. So that's awesome that you happen to be one of those who are in the forefront of teaching this next generation that, hey man, there's more to learn about our home.
Absolutely agree with that sentiment 100%.
So Ed, before we take a quick break, so tell us more about what you've learned so far when it comes to the Micronesian studies and stuff.
Oh, well, one of the primary things that I've learned about Micronesian studies is how we should approach the idea of studying a region in the first place. How should we approach and understand the implicit assumptions within the methodology that we use to study regions? What are the assumptions in how we understand a region, which is, largely based off of anthropology. And as you know, Victorious, and as many people know, that anthropology for the longest time has been a tool used to classify indigenous people and used to understand them and classify them in ways that they have never classified them before. Like, for the example, the idea of Micronesia in itself, whether it exists as a legitimate cultural area, right, is a big topic, because the fact is that the region of Micronesia, right, is an artificial region that was created and maintained by French geographers, by American anthropologists, and so on. And that is something that indigenous scholars have been questioning. What is Micronesia? Does it even exist? Is it relevant as a cultural area? And what should we do about it? So that's one small thing that I'll just share about what I've learned so far and my understanding of Micronesian studies.
Wow, awesome. All right, guys, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to talk to Ed and find out how he took his studies and what he learned at the University of Guam, and how he took those and used it to, honestly, a really amazing thing, which is he created a YouTube page. So we'll find out about that YouTube page and how it all began coming up after this break. You're watching the One Micronesia Podcast, we brought to you by Docomo Pacific. It's better together.
Need a new phone? Trade in now and get up to $500 off our best 5G devices. Trade in your older phone in any condition and step up to better savings and speeds only our 5G network can provide. Check out our website and catch up on the best mobile experience. Trade in now. Docomo Pacific, better together.
Building on the past, we at Docomo Pacific Business believe in helping businesses move forward and together, changing the way we get things done to make you and your company reach your highest potential. Trust in our commitment to bring you the best solutions for all your business goals. We are Docomo Pacific Business. Let's work better together.
Hafre, One Micronesia Podcast, and we are back. We're talking with Ed Leon Guerrero, the dude literally running Pulan Speaks, a YouTube channel. So, Ed, tell us more. How? I mean, we know you graduated from you got your master's in Micronesian Studies at the University of Guam. You learned so much about our region, and you took that and you're like, you know what? Let me do something with this knowledge, that all these amazing knowledge that I've acquired over the years. So let's talk about how it all started. When did you think like, oh, I'm gonna make a YouTube page?
Oh, yeah. Well, I wanted to know more about the region, right? Because we were assigned a whole lot of reading, my man. A whole lot of reading, books, articles upon articles. And I'm like, I'm going to look on YouTube to see if there's anything that summarizes. Right. So I looked on YouTube because, what I would normally do is if I'm really interested in a region like Japan, for example, I would look up, what is some stories about Japan? What is some research about Japanese culture? And I would find it. But when I looked up about Micronesia, I found pretty much not really anything. There is, of course, the Micronesian Seminar by Francis Hazel, but those were so long videos, right? I just wanted things that would be concise, that would just put it out there to your face and not have, a lot of, for lack of a better term, fluff, which was required for his documentaries and so on to meet a certain time length, right? And so that's what gave me the idea. I'm like, okay, so I'm sure I'm not the only one interested in this information. why don't I then translate all these academic materials and make them easily digestible for the entire community, so people like me and other people could look them up and be like, oh, this is great. There's information about the region and it makes sense. I don't have to read no 200-page book by Glenn Peterson, for example. Just watch a 10-minute video from Pulan Speaks. And so that was the reason, right? The rationale, the why I decided to make Pulan Speaks, to create digestible contents about the Marianas, about Chamorros, but not only them, but about Micronesia and about the greater oceanic region for our people, for the people of the Pacific, so they could watch and educate themselves and empower them as well.
Honestly, when I saw what you were doing on your page, like I said, it was a quick flashback to the Micronesian seminar. I mean, going to school in high school at Xavier, when we were doing Micronesian studies, we were literally reading everything from Micronesian seminar, and it was so cool to know that somebody took time to really make those videos, to sit down, do the research, and of course that is none other than Father Francis Cecil, who did an amazing job of telling our stories. But I think at the end of the day, I remember it was in an interview, he said, he wasn't doing that for his own good, but he was doing it to inspire other young Micronesians to follow his footsteps and take over what he's done and create more videos. And guess what? Lo and behold, the years after, Ed here picked it up right from where Father Francis Cecil left off, and doing an amazing job, like you said. Like he did make hour-long videos. There's so many videos and so many parts of, like, part 1, part 2, part 3 of certain topics that he did. But what you did was you just took that, and like you said, you kind of minimized it to like specific things, like what is Micronesia, who are Chamorros, and stuff like little topics like that research. And I have a feeling there's a kid out there who did a project about Micronesia, maybe about a specific island, maybe about the Chamorro culture, that stumbled upon your video and used that video as a reference in his or her project.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the key things that I will always do, no matter what, is I will always cite my sources. So I could be like, you don't need to believe me. Look at the sources. Right. And if you have an issue, look at the sources, critique them, verify them. Right. I will never say that what I'm doing is absolutely correct. I will say, look at the sources. I'm just presenting my own interpretation of the sources for everyone to watch.
Now let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of the reactions that you've got on the page.
Oh, yeah. So most of the reactions, about 90%, were amazing. Nice. They were astonished. They were like, wow, there's all this information about, for example, the Chamorro people before Magellan. Right. There's all this information of the pre-colonial Chamorros, or wow, there's that many islands in Micronesia, or wow, there's that many languages in Micronesia. Right? There's like, what? They're like, what? Yap. There's also Chukik speakers in these outer islands, while they have a different type of language in Yap proper. It's like, what? Yeah. So those are the main types of reactions that are getting. And then many people are like, oh, can you please do this video? Nice. Please do this video. Please do this video. And yes, it's amazing. The overwhelming majority of the reactions that I receive is absolutely positive, absolutely encouraging. But then again, you're going to have some people who, and I'm sure you have many of them for this podcast right now. Yes. They're like, oh, how come you're not using better background or better camera equipment?
Or a specific topic of who I'm interviewing too.
Yeah, it's like, oh, why are you interviewing this guy, Pulan? He's just a young kid,
I mean, so before we go into another break here, Pulan, tell the people what it means.
What it means to...
Is it what Pulan?
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so Pulan is a Chamorro word which with multiple meanings, as is usual in many languages, And Pulan, the primary meaning for Pulan Speaks is moon, right? Pulan means moon. Pulan could also mean month, and it could also mean to watch over, right? So if you could say, you know, I Pulan, for example, hu Pulan ineni, I watch the baby, right? So it has those three primary meanings, Pulan. And the reason why I chose Pulan is because I've always been fascinated by the moon. And I always thought that, you know, the moon is something at night, you know, it's something that will be there at least for, you know, 29 days out of the month, right? And you will always see that, and it is always watching you. So that was one of my inspirations, the moon, and I decided to call it Pulan Speaks.
Awesome. Nice. All right, well, Ed, we're going to take a break and we'll be back with more. When we come back, we'll find out, you know, what's in stores for, or what Ed has planned for the rest of the year, or what he's got coming up on the channel. So we'll be back. You're watching the One Micronesia Podcast, brought to you by docomo Pacific. Better together.
Need a new phone? Trade in now and get up to $500 off our best 5G devices. Trade in your older phone in any condition and step up to better savings and speeds only our 5G network can provide. Check out our website and catch up on the best mobile experience. Trade in now. Docomo Pacific, better together.
Building on the past, we at Docomo Pacific Business believe in helping businesses move forward and together, changing the way we get things done to make you and your company reach your highest potential. Trust in our commitment to bring you the best solutions for all your business goals. We are Docomo Pacific Business. Let's work better together.
Half a day, One Micronesia Podcast. We are back. We're still here with Ed Leon Guerrero, literally the guy behind Pulan Speaks, the YouTube channel that literally has anything and everything about Micronesia. So, Ed, so tell us more about, you know, we talked about how it all started for you. We talked about you. We got to know you. We got to know how the channel started. So right now, let's talk about, you know, what's moving forward. What's next for Pulan Speaks?
Well, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. Which is to create free videos for free media content for everyone to watch about the region of Micronesia, or even the greater Pacific region. So I will continue doing that. One big difference that I have started doing is I recently created a Patreon page. So for people who want to donate, and again, no one has to donate, but if you would like to support my channel, you know, through monetary means, then you may donate through Patreon, so to support my channel, so I could get better equipment, and so I could, you know, possibly get better better equipment to get better audio, better video. Perhaps maybe in the future, this might be the way I make a living.
Right?
Yeah, who knows? Maybe in the future, I would wish one day I could do this for a living, and maybe this is the start. So, and in terms of content, future content, well, it really comes down to whatever I feel like making, or whatever my Patreons, my current Patreon supporters, what they suggest. So if you would like to suggest videos or content for me to create and have a higher chance of me making it, then become a Patreon for Pulan Speaks at Pulan Speaks.
All right. You know, so before we close out this part, so of course you got the channel going. Is there something else that maybe you're seeing in the future that you kind of want to do, I don't know, like pull out or something? Like, I know you talk about, you know, bringing more content to the channel, which is amazing. But in terms of anything big that you want to, you know, do, or something that you kind of have at the back of your head, like, well, I kind of want to do that in the future.
You know, I was thinking of doing, how would you say, a short actual film, right? A creative project which has nothing to do with educational content, but it was just a creative project about, you know, just illustrating or illuminating ideas about Chamorro culture. You know, for example, you know, how walking in the jungle, you know, to illustrate, you know, have a short film, a documentary about, you know, Tautamotna, for example, and respect, and to just showcase this through a film. But of course, that's just one idea that's, I would say it's absolutely far-fetched.
Right.
It's probably not going to happen anytime soon because the
might
budget,
not know. It might actually happen. So,
well, if KUAM wants to get on board,
there you go. I'll definitely talk to them, and we'll see what we got. We'll see what we can do. But yeah, well, Ed, we're gonna take a break. We'll be back to close out with final comments and all that. You're watching the One Micronesia Podcast. It's been brought to you by docomo Pacific. It's better together.
Need a new phone? Trade in now and get up to $500 off our best 5G devices. Trade in your older phone in any condition and step up to better savings and speeds only our 5G network can provide. Check out our website and catch up on the best mobile experience. Trade in now. Docomo Pacific, better together.
Building on the past, we at Docomo Pacific Business believe in helping businesses move forward and together, changing the way we get things done to make you and your company reach your highest potential. Trust in our commitment to bring you the best solutions for all your business goals. We are Docomo Pacific Business. Let's work better together.
Well, so that happened. First time in the podcast history got rained on. So, Ed, so just throw it out there before we close again. Last messages to your people who you follow, people who follow you and your page.
Yes. So one message I want to let everyone know is that if you are a creator, to just publish it. You yourself are your biggest limiter. Self-doubt is the biggest impediment. Please just publish it. If you're, for example, if you're a musician and you have this great guitar riff or great song you wrote, just publish it. If you have this poetry, if you're into poetry and you wrote this great poem, just publish it. If you're like me and you want to make educational videos about this region, just publish it. Please just publish it. Let everyone know about your creativity and contribute to the community. It all matters. Just publish it.
All right. Well, there you heard it. Just publish it. All right. So, Ed, before I let you go, where can people go follow you either on Instagram and then for the YouTube page? Maybe they're wondering like, okay, I really want to go watch now. Where can people go find you?
Yeah. So everything from my social media to my Patreon page where you could donate and to my YouTube channel could all be at Pulan Speaks. Everything is called Pulan Speaks. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Patreon. Pulan Speaks. That is PULAN SPEAKS. Pulan Speaks.
All right. Well, there you go. Ed, again, thank you so much. I mean, we literally had an amazing experience here with the interview.
I know.
Like I said, first time ever we got rained on. But honestly, like I said, the show must go on. So, Ed, thank you so much for your time to come out today to tell us more about you and Pulan Speaks, the channel, and pretty much to inspire the next generation of content creators to do more, especially when it comes to our region. So thank you so much, man. All right. Well, there you have it, guys. Another episode of the One Micronesia Podcast is in the books. It's being brought to you by Docomo Pacific, better together. My name is Victorious, and all I gotta say is peace.
The One Micronesia Podcast is brought to you by Docomo Pacific, better together.